going to finish the second half of our 9.1 video for math, for modeling mathematics, and then get that into our ed puzzle for us to begin chapter 9. So we were talking about measurements, and we're going to use something called dimensional analysis in order to convert measurements from one thing to the other. And I left off with talking about the prefixes, geometric prefixes that you need to have memorized. And so I drew the stair step, and we have kilo, we have hecto, we have deca, we have meters, liters, or grams, then we have deci, centi, and milli, okay? And the thing to remember about this is what's called our base unit. So kilo is 1,000 times bigger than the base unit. Hecto would be 100 times bigger. Deca would be 10 times bigger. And then as we continue to go down, we're looking deca would be 10 times smaller, centi would be 100 times smaller, and milli would be 1,000 times smaller. Okay, so you want to make sure you have that memorized and have those prefixes memorized so that you know how to convert from one to the other. So let's look at an example. Example 2 says to convert 504.7 meters into kilometers. So if we think of that stair step, we're going to use our dimensional analysis again. A meter is smaller than a kilometer, so meter is what we're given, so we put it on the bottom because we always put what we're trying to get rid of in the opposite place. We want to get kilometers, so that goes on the top. And I look at those units and I say, all right, which one is bigger, a kilometer or a meter? Oops, I didn't use that. Kilometer or meter? Well, obviously a kilometer is bigger. Okay, so kilo gets the 1 because it's the bigger gets the 1. And there are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. And that's just an easy way to help keep straight where the 1,000 goes and where the 1 goes. And then we're going to take 504.7 and multiply it by 1, which gives us 504.7, obviously. And then we divide by 1,000. And that gives us 0.5047 kilometers. Okay. So yeah, I know that you can do that in your head probably, but writing it out in dimensional analysis is going to make it a little easier, especially when we have to convert between two prefixes, like in D. So let's look at D in example 3. It says to take 9.71 decameters and turn it into decimeters. Well, I don't know a conversion of how many decameters are in a decimeter. I have no idea, and I don't want to memorize that. So what I do is I always go back to that middle unit of meters first. So I put decameters here, and I put meters here, because I do have, or I'm supposed to have memorized how many decameters are in a meter. And the bigger unit gets the 1. Deca is above meters in that little stair step you should memorize. So deca gets the 1, and there are 10 meters in a decameter. Each one of those stair steps represents 10. Now that gives me meters, but I don't want meters, I want decimeters, so I'm going to put meters in the bottom, and I'm going to put decimeters in the top. I ask myself, which unit is bigger, a meter or a decimeter? A meter is bigger, so it gets the 1. A decimeter is 10 times smaller than a meter, so my 10 goes there. So 9.71 times 10 and times 10. So it's basically the same as multiplying by 100. So that's going to be 971 decimeters. Okay. Now your book looks at moving decimal places back and forth. You can do that, but again, you either way, you have to have those prefixes in that stair step kind of memorized and in your brain, whichever way you decide to do it. Unit multipliers are easier because it forms a habit. And anything you do by habit or by reflex is automatically going to be a little bit easier. So just practice doing everything with a unit multiplier or dimensional analysis. All right, so let's look at example 3. Now, example 3 is where we go from English units to metric units. So 3A, we have 8 inches, and we want to convert those inches into centimeters. I need to have a unit multiplier. I need to look up or have someone tell me how many centimeters are in an inch. That is not something I'm going to make you memorize. You do have to memorize the stair step for the metric prefixes, but that's it. The rest, I will give you what those are. You don't have to memorize them. So the unit multiplier, inches are going to go in the bottom, okay, because that's the one I'm trying to get rid of. Centimeters are going to go in the top because that's what I'm asked to find, okay, and for every 1 centimeter, that is the same thing as 2.54 centimeters. So for every 1 inch, there's 2.54 centimeters. And that's not anything you have to memorize. Or you have to know or memorize. That's something you would be given in a problem. You just have to know how to arrange it. You put it so that the inches cancel out. Then you're going to multiply across the top, divide by what's on the bottom. So 8 times 2.54 gives me 20.32. Okay? All right. All right, so let's do example 4, and that'll wrap up this section. The speed limit on a highway in the highways in the United States are in 55 miles per hour. How many kilometers per hour is that? So in Europe, their speed limits are in kilometers per hour. Over here, we're in miles per hour. So we need to convert those. So we always start by writing down what we were given. We were given that we have 55 miles over hours. Okay, and then we're going to go and do our conversion. We want to get to kilometers per hour. So my hours is going to stay the same, so I'm not going to do anything to that. But my miles needs to be converted to kilometers. Okay, so I have to be told how many miles are in a kilometer. Not something I expect you to memorize. You will be given that in the problem. So miles is going to go on bottom so that it cancels out. Kilometers is going to go on top. And I am told that there is 1 mile is equal to 1.6 kilometers. And so then all I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 55 times 1.6, which gives me 88 kilometers per hour. Now, in this unit, in this chapter especially, it's going to be extremely important for you to write down the unit. And that's just part of my science background. I get weird about that. You can't just write down 88. If you write down 88, that does not tell me anything. It could be, is it 88 meters per second, 88 kilometers per hour, 88 gigawatts per whatever, if you know Back to the Future, the movie. A number without a unit doesn't do us any good at all. Okay, so always write down the unit, and that is our unit. Okay, so we have to write down our units. So that was A. B says if a high-speed train in Japan is capable of traveling at 200 kilometers per hour, how many miles per hour is that? So we start with what we're given. Write out your units. It's kilometers per hour. Okay, kilometers is going to go on the bottom because I want to change kilometers into miles. And I want to leave the hours the same, so I don't have to change that. And again, 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers. So now I'm just going to take 200 and divide by 1.6, which would give me 125 miles per hour. And do not just put 125. It's 125 miles per hour. You must write down the unit. So when you have a quiz or a test or whatever, I'll give you a point for the right number and I'll give you a point for the right unit. So you have to write down both. Okay. All right. So that's it for 9.1. Tomorrow or whenever your next class period, we'll be working on the practice problems for 9.1. So make sure you've watched the Ed Puzzle, answered all the questions for both of them since this is part two. And that should be it.